Welcome to Sandlot and the Crew, where Sandlot Radio Show meets Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball. I'm your host, Will Kiger, a.k.a. Wrecking Yard Will, and we are live from the Wrecking Yard here in Torrance, California, beautiful South Bay. Next to me, I have owner-operator, former Division I player, and professional baseball player, Mr. Mason Morioka. Next to him, we have CIF Champion, head coach in his first year at Penn High School. He's also one of our coaches here at Wrecking Yard, Mr. Nicholas Green. And next to him, we have one of our young coaches on the rise. He was actually on the first ever Wrecking Crew team under Mason. He's played here and coached here for a long time, Mr. Jake Hicks. We are happy to have him. So special shout out to our sponsors, South Bay Credit Union and Restore Hyper Wellness. Appreciate you guys. And today we have a really good topic for you. So we're going to be talking about the effects of social media on youth baseball today. And I know this is a big game changer. None of us grew up with social media when we were playing baseball, and it's changed the landscape in a big, big way. I know one of the things that is somewhat controversial, a lot of people have been talking about, is how kids are now bat flipping. They're doing the double cellies. It's just starting to get a little bit wild out there. I love to see the kids have fun, but Mason, how do you feel about seeing young kids bat flip and these kind of things?
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for that. Always, in baseball, there needs to be celebrations, but again, there's always a time and a place for it. You hit a walk-off home run, bat flip that sucker, right? You strike out a guy with the bases juiced and the tying runs at third base, pitcher fist pumps and lets out a bit of emotion. I'm all for that, but first inning, your three-hole guy hits a bomb and he's throwing his bat 20 feet in the air. That to me, it's just getting a little bit ridiculous, and unfortunately, I think it's stemming from the top with the big leaguers, all the way down to, these 8, 9, 10-year-olds. And they think it's acceptable, and unfortunately, in my opinion, I don't think it's very acceptable. These guys are, having fun, learning the game, but they're not getting paid millions of dollars, to be on TV and, show off what they're able to do.
Absolutely. Jake, how do you feel about this bat flip situation? You're out there in the field. You're at travel ball tournaments every weekend. You see it live in action. So what do you think about it?
I 100% agree. I think that there's always a time and a place. Kind of like, I think that the sport needs it. You need the energy, you need the fire, and that's why people watch. And, I've given up a bomb and I've gotten bat flipped on. I've been there. So, I get it. I kind of had to tip my cap, but it was also, I think it was in the second or third inning.
Right.
I think we were still up even after the home run. So I was kind of interested on why, but it happens. And I do think that we need it. It's just kind of like how Mason said, there's always a time and a place. And, if you want to get fired up and you want to do a little double celly, a little flex, something, then I get it. But, there's always a time and a place. And get fired up with your guys. I get it, But, yeah, I totally agree.
Green, what you got?
I would say I've actually softened up a lot over the years on this issue.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me as much. I think being in this game and, still coming up old school, no social media and having coaches. Yeah, it was definitely, you don't show anybody up, whether you're on the mound, like how Jake was, or even myself, and the other way around, even if you're a hitter, hey, if you hit a home run, act like you've been there before, run the bases. But if you look at all sports in general, how they've become, hockey, you score a goal, there's the celebration. Football, you score a touchdown, there's a celebration. It's happening in all sports across. And if they're able to adapt and have that in their game, because there was a time where football didn't have, Chad Ochocinco, this master of celebrations, right? That was not happening in the 50s or with Dick Butkus and Bear, old school football, but the game's changed. So for me, it's, do I think it's excessive when I see a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, have the bat flipping? Yeah, because I think that's the old school in me, but I sit there and, they're having fun. It's, the game is meant to have fun. If it gets to where it gets like really disrespectful, where it becomes like more of like, I feel like at the high school level, when you bat flip it and then you're staring down the pitcher or you're mouthing off things, that's to me where I have a problem. I don't care if you want to celebrate, but don't start making it into where it becomes a real personal issue or becomes where you're mouthing off stuff. That's where, to me, the line is still there, and that will definitely upset me.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because even in college basketball, professional, and the NFL now, you see they have taunting penalties. They're like, hey, go ahead, celebrate, have fun, do your thing, but don't make it about disrespecting that player. It's about celebrating with your teammates. So, I love that. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I like to see the kids have fun. I like to see them celebrate. And like you guys were saying, you know, baseball wasn't always necessarily the most fun to watch. It's, you know, it had a lot of unwritten rules, very old school mentality, where it's like you don't celebrate. If a guy does anything out of line, he's getting beamed in the ribs. So I do like to see the kids having fun. I definitely think there's a level to a bat flip that's acceptable as well.
Under and over 15 feet.
Yeah, it shouldn't be going higher than a 10-foot basketball hoop. Some of these, I've seen some where these kids just let that thing go like a rocket, and it's like, all right, you know, give a little flip to the dugout, but let's not like kill a bird with this freaking bat flip. But yeah, it's interesting to see the kids these days. I like the double cellies as well. I feel like that's totally fine. It's not that big a deal, except the champagne one.
It's ridiculous.
I was there with, that was.
What were you talking about?
So for those of you guys who don't know, the champagne one is where they shake up a bottle of champagne and then go like that.
Is that second?
Yeah.
Well, that was what in the CIF Championship game, what Apple Valley did. I mean, the guy let off with a double and got there and did his whole
he did the full on donkey. I mean, how'd that turn out for him?
And that was the
baseball
rest. They had three guys that either I think let off with a double or they hit one with like one out and they got on second. And I mean, it was like the big old celebration. I was like, I didn't realize we were celebrating doubles like this, you know. But okay, cool.
And what's his name? Yuvani? Is that how you say it?
Yuvon.
Shout out to him, man. He pitched an excellent game. And he's not a dude with, you know, it's not like he's throwing 90 miles an hour, but I don't know if it was a changeup or what that pitch was, but man, he kept them off balance all night and he pitched a great game. So that was a lot of fun to watch. So let's talk about how social media is now affecting recruiting. From the youth level, like kids in travel ball, all the way up through high school, because now you have these kids that build these baseball pages and it says their school, their class, their height, their weight, their GPA, their position, and they're uploading clips and things like that. And that's really changed the landscape because, as you know, and as we've talked about before, a lot of times with recruiting, it's really about selling yourself. You know, you got to reach out to teams and coaches. So having that kind of social media can really be a game changer, but you see some kids who are really big on it, others who aren't. How do you feel about it, Mace?
I feel like there's pros and cons to it. You know, the pro being, you know, with social media and how recruiting has changed. You know, some of these smaller, you know, Division I schools, Division III schools even, and Division II, kind of all across the board, you know, they don't have to spend a lot of money anymore to go out to these major tournaments out in Arizona or to Florida or to Texas, you know, where they're spending money on flights, hotels, meals, you know, where now they can keep their budget lower by seeing some of these kids on their social media pages, whether it's their Instagram, their Twitter, field level, other recruiting sites, so that to me is the pro of it. The con of it now is, you know, if that kid starts posting, you know, some nonsense on his page, you know, or if, you know, if another player on a different high school is looking for a scouting report on a pitcher that they're about to face, well, now all he has to do is find this kid on Twitter, and now you can see, his fastball is 85, 87 with arm side run. You see his slider, you see his changeup, you know, which in a game setting, you know, now that puts that pitcher, unfortunately, at a disadvantage.
100%, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Really good points there. Green, what do you think about it?
I mean, I think that to go off of what Mason said, I mean, like, I know we definitely use that. I mean, I use that for scouting for high school the last 8 years. I mean, if you can get any type of, information out of a roster, an opposing team. I mean, hitters, pitchers, or whatever. Anything that I can get, I'm going to use. And so that way I know what's coming. I can prepare my team for what they possibly might see. I knew that especially when it came to like playoffs, like, I mean, me and my coaching staff were constantly like, as soon as we knew what the next matchup was, it was go through the whole roster. What can you find on every single one of these guys, right? And social media a lot of times helped out with that, of what we're going to see, and prepare for that with our practice plan, and then as well as for what our game plan was in game. So, I mean, from that standpoint, advantage, disadvantage, right? Advantage to us, maybe a disadvantage because now, to the other team, like we know what's coming at us. I would say, in terms of when it comes to scouting, I think that, I think social media is a good thing. Its whole idea was to be able to connect people and for us to be able to see a world outside of, our little communities. I think now though, it's almost at a detriment because now it's almost like kind of like Tinder for scouts. It's like, I mean, no. There's so much abundance, right?
Yeah.
It just becomes like, okay, 6'4", 220. Yeah. Okay. 5'9", once, and just, so I think that because of that, I think that I think that it's a little bit at a detriment. You don't see guys going to showcases as much. Maybe you miss out on seeing a guy that you would not have known about because you're just looking at the top 300 players in the nation, going, okay, look at all these guys' social medias. Who do you want to attack out of this top 300? But maybe you go to a showcase that maybe, they're playing a team that isn't one of those top 300 players, and you notice a guy who's kind of underneath the radar, and you go, oh shit. Like, this guy's got a speed tool. This guy's like got a great art. Like, hey, if this guy was in our system, I think that, so I think, it's harder to find those, I would say, diamonds in the rough. Mm-hmm. And I think that you have a lot of kids. I mean, because even now, I mean, like, how many kids we work with, and they're always still asking, like, hey, can you put me in contact with anybody? Do you know anybody? We got a lot of guys that could play at the next level, but there's just kind of like, no way unless you're a big time guy and a D1's kind of looking at you going, oh, we want you. Or if you're a really good academic and you still want to play baseball and you're kind of getting in for both ways. Like, a lot of these guys that are good students, but maybe don't have the 4.0, they want to continue playing, but it's like, well, where at? Because no one's heavily recruiting me. I've sent my stuff out to various schools, but again, it becomes like the Tinder thing because there's plenty of 6 foot, 175 guys that okay with the hit tool and a decent arm, wheels are fine, like swipe. Yep. So I think it's tough.
Jake, how are you feeling about it?
Well, I kind of had the unfortunate timing of growing up with social media when I played, and there's so many sides of the coin. There's not just two sides, right? Like, if you guys want to talk about like the showboating on social media, like if you have a high school rivalry, like when I went to high school, there was so many edits of like a certain coach or a player, getting posted and stuff like that. It's like that type of stuff I don't like. But there's like a guy like Max Clark. I would have never heard of him until he got to the draft. But since I saw him on social media, I'm like, okay, I followed him throughout high school. I saw the records he was breaking at his high school. I saw all this stuff, and we get to see guys like Clayton Kershaw throughout high school. We see all these guys like throughout high school, and it's, that's kind of the blessing in it, but also you can hurt yourself. I think we had a guy, class of, I don't know, he just posted a bomb. He had a clutch hit into a game here at Wrecking Yard, and, I never heard of him, but now I'm like intrigued on how he's going to do throughout his high school career, and, if he chooses or makes the college level, then I would love to go out and watch him and see him, and but those type of things, like, like when it gets to the talking crap with the rivals, like that's the part, as a coach and even as a player, like I hated, like there was, I believe that we got kind of caught up in that. My freshman year, posted a broom with a bunch of teams on it, all the teams that we swept because we swept the hill. My freshman year, and it did not, like, we ended up going like 0-2, 0-4 the rest of the year. So it's the baseball gods, and that's where I kind of learned that. So, there's lessons behind it, but so many flips of the coin, like bads and goods, and you just gotta be careful. If a scout sees you talking crap later, you're gone.
You got to be very strategic about what you're putting out on social media. Green, do you have something?
I think one of the things that he said, because it just popped up in my mind to go with, I think one of the good things that what Jake was talking about is like a guy like Max Clark or some of these guys that are like, called the top 100 that are in the U.S., they almost post like a vlog each day of like what their day to day is. And so for guys that are, at the high school level that can look at a guy who's like, Max Clark or whatever and go like, man, what's that guy's day to day? Like, what is he doing that's different than me? Because I have so many guys that are like, how do I get better? And it's like, watch what a top 100 player is doing every day. And from attacking like, lifting and working out every day to working on their craft, if that's hitting, pitching, fielding, whatever that is, to eating right, to being around the right people, to taking your study. Like, I think that is a benefit. I think social media, depending on how you use it, right, has always been either positive or a negative. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are positive from it that you can get to make you a better baseball player. I mean, think about guys posting lessons, guys posting little clips on how to get, like, those are all things that no matter if you're a player or as a coach, gets you better. It's knowledge, it's power. So, I think that that's a real benefit of the social media, but it also can be used in those negative ways like we discussed.
Yeah. And let me talk about one of those, so like, honestly, think about it this way. Kids can be lazy with social media.
Yeah.
They can be very active with the social media, but behind that camera, they can be incredibly lazy. You could see some really misleading stuff where, you see a couple of clips of this guy hitting a couple of rockets, but you don't know whether he can hit an off-speed pitch.
Right.
You don't know how he battles with 2 strikes, and then on top of that, the kid can post a 10-second clip of him doing 225-pound bench, but that might have been the only thing that he did that day.
Right.
So it could be incredibly misleading, in terms of when a scout is looking at a player, so they can make themselves look even better through the social media platforms, as opposed to the guys that we're seeing, go out day to day, grinding and that's why those guys are top 100 players, and that's why they have blue check marks next to their name and you can see kind of every day what they're doing, and another thing that you said, Nick, earlier that kind of triggered my memory was you were talking about showcases, right? And how the social media has changed even the showcase platform, right? I saw a video the other day about CC Sabathia, and he said, I would not have survived in this day and age. He goes, because I came from a very low income family, and my folks would have never been able to pay $300, $400, $500, $1,000 to go to one of these perfect game showcases and put myself out there, and now on top of that, let's say that he shits the bed.
Yeah. That's
$300, $400, $500, $1,000 that just got burned, even though everybody knows what CC Sabathia is capable of, but if he doesn't do well in that first outing, somebody may never come back to see him just because, unfortunately, his folks would not have had the money to send him to anywhere else.
Or it's be like, to me, I think, to go off of that, right? So if CC Sabathia was to grow up in this age and he wasn't able to go to a showcase, right? And then, if he's playing at his small school at, middle of nowhere, then how does he get recruited? Okay, well, social media, put yourself out there. Now I feel like, the benchmark for scouts now is 90. Like if you're throwing 90, right?
Someone's going to get you.
So that's the thing is, if there's one clip of me throwing cheddar at 90, then I just got a whole bunch of attraction, right? There's D1 now to wherever else. So, but what if CC was only throwing like 88? CC Sabathia.
It's crazy,
so that's the things to me where it's like, you've lost the ability for, the actual like human interaction, eyeballs, meeting, knowing coaches, knowing area scouts, like, and them being able to sit there and go, hey, there's this kid out there, like, I've never seen a fastball like this. This guy's got movement. That, like, I don't see him on social media. He doesn't have a big social media presence. Oh, he's not playing on some big scout team. Oh, he's not, the dimensions that we're looking at, like, so I think you lose a lot of those guys here in the next like couple of years because it's just getting to where, like, if you want to play baseball, like, and you want to play a high level, you got to go to a big team where then it's the monthly fees of playing on that team. Oh, then you got to play the showcase. Like, you're starting to buy people out? Is that the expression?
I guess.
Yeah. I love that you guys brought up Max Clark because I think that's a prime example of someone who's from a small town in Indiana, would not have any of the recognition or spotlight. And he said, I'm going to create it myself. I got an iPhone. I got a camera. I'm going to start posting on social media, not only my games and highlights and all that stuff, but I'm going to bring you into my life and get on YouTube and show you a real day-to-day of what my life is like, my work ethic, the drills I'm doing. And I love Max Clark. I think he's truthfully the model of the new age player. Like if you are a young player coming up right now, you want to model Max Clark. Like not his day to day. I've heard him talk about his routine. It's like wake up. He does his speed work first, like all the footwork, ladder drills, mobility, that kind of stuff. Then he lifts heavy. Then he does his hitting. So all day he is working. When he's not in school, he's doing work that's making him a better baseball player. But not only is he doing the work, he's showing everybody the work. So from a small town in Franklin, Indiana, he's able to get that spotlight. And I guarantee you that moved him way up on the draft boards. It brought him into that top 100. It's also going to bring a kid brand deals, money off social media. I mean, yeah, he was the number 3 pick in the draft and signed for $7-8 million. Yeah. But dude, his social media following and the money he's making online is absolutely crazy.
What happens though if you're an introvert?
If you're an introvert, you better be working like Max Clark. You better at least be working like. Well, that's something you got to overcome. We all have our weaknesses, and I think that if. Like we talked about before, when it comes to recruiting, dude, a big part of it is selling yourself. If you're not a dude who's just 6'4", throwing 95, everyone knows about you, you need to be selling yourself. You got to be reaching out to coaches and programs and create that. So
you think Bo Jackson was doing that?
Well, this is a different era, though. And Bo Jackson was a dude. Bo Jackson was that guy throwing 95, running
Bo Jackson was
4,000 yards in high school.
But Bo Jackson was not a big talker.
But that's the point. Yeah, if you're Shohei Ohtani or Bo Jackson, you don't need to do that shit.
I'm saying, what if you are not Max Clark? You're not a top one, like you're whatever.
You ain't making it.
Well, okay. First, I'm talking about like where it's not about making it to where Max Clark is, where he's, where did he get drafted? I know it was
third to Detroit,
right? Like for a lot of guys, it's just being able to play ball at the college level, like where there are a lot more slots open to play there. So my thing is, what if you are not that? Because not everybody at 16, 17, 18 years old wants to open up every detail of their life. Not everybody is, hey, like.
Absolutely. I don't think you have to, not everyone obviously is going to have that personality and be willing to do that, but you still need to be putting some clips on social media. You don't need to vlog your entire day, but there's no reason you can't have some clips on social media and be promoting yourself. And I think one thing that social media really does is if you do have some good highlights, it can spark that interest. It can get you some attention, but then it's on the scout to actually go watch this guy, talk to his coaches. Is he a good dude on and off the field? Is he got all those intangibles and those kinds of things? So I think overall, like you said, Green, social media is really about how you use it. But without a doubt, in my mind, it's, the internet and social media is by far the most powerful tool that's ever been invented in our lifetime. And if you use it properly, it can open up doors and create opportunities that you've never had before, which is why we're here doing this podcast. We're trying to do the same thing with our organization. So we're going to have to wrap this segment up. But yeah, really good topic, really good takes from everybody. I really enjoyed that. That was awesome stuff. So you are listening to Sandlot and the Crew, where Sandlot Radio Show meets Wrecking Yard Baseball and Softball. I'm your host, Will Kiger. We got Mason Morioka, Nick Green, Jake Hicks. Special shout out to our sponsors, South Bay Credit Union and Restore Hyper Wellness. And we're going to be coming back talking about the pros and cons of Little League Baseball and travel ball, and maybe which one you should choose depending on your situation. So we'll catch you on the next one.